speak with you around pivoting. And I think especially with 2020, right, it's really thrown a spanner. I think a lot of people's plan, whether that be life plans or career plans, and career pivots, there's never really a good time for it, but I think it's even more stressful when there's uncertainties around that. So I'm hoping today I can share 3 lessons from our satellite operation team and really get you to think around how you can plan for your career pivot. So to start, let's see, here we go. All right, so firstly, about me. I'm currently a product and program lead here at Planet, and I'm also a part of our Wonder Woman ERG group that Adria kind of mentioned earlier, Public Belonging Task Force. I call myself a pivoteur with 5 career pivots, and prior to COVID shutdown, I love to travel. So hopefully that's something that resonates with everyone. And here I just included a short quote because I think that was part of what inspired my brief or the talk was Robert Frost's poem around traveling or taking the road less traveled. All right, so the first lesson, what are your areas of interest? So a lot of the time for our satellite operation team, the first thing they need to know about tasking our satellite is where do you want to look and what do you care about? I will use 2 use cases to kind of try to explain. The first one, perhaps you're in agriculture, perhaps you're a farmer, in which case the area that interests you could be roads, right? You're trying to find the roads that will help you travel to your farms. Versus if you're a civil government, for example, someone in San Francisco who is doing city planning, the things you care about will probably be buildings, right? Or infrastructure, and not so much about the road itself to a farmland area. Using this lesson similarly for you when you're planning your career pivots or career changes, that will be my question to you. What are your areas of interest? That can be an industry, vertical, perhaps you really love tech or you want to try out finance or nonprofit. Maybe it's a skill set that you want to gain along the way. Or perhaps it's really about a national or geographic location. You want to move to the city or you want to be closer to family. Right? So those are interesting points to consider around your area of interest. In my case, it was a combination of all of those when I did my first 2 career pivots, I would say. I started off in Chicago, my career as a mutual fund data analyst. So that was at Morningstar. And one of the things that I personally felt was really important was a chance to work abroad, because I think it's important to learn about different culture and get a chance to work and live in those places instead of just a temporary traveler. And that's what brought me to my first opportunity where the company went through a merger and acquisition, and I volunteered, interviewed, and ended up moving to Cape Town, South Africa, where I headed up the data operations for our sub-Saharan African office. And that's the picture on the left. And after doing that for a couple of years, I realized, hey, data analyst is great. I get to learn a lot about data operations and logistics and business analytics. But I really want to do something more creative now. And I love something that's more customer facing and somewhere where I can work on my marketing or communication skills. So that was my second pivot where I moved and became a food writer. I know, a little off course, but it was something fun. I was in my early 20s. And for me, it was about the skill set that I wanted to gain and in an immediate format. All right, lesson number 2. What are your time of interest? So a lot of the time for our satellite operation team, they need to know what's a targeted time period where our customers, our users will want to see imagery of. Again, going back to the earlier examples, if you are in agriculture, for example, a farmer, your time of interest is probably quite seasonal. For example, with this picture, you actually see a lot of the circular fields that you've spotted throughout the US. And in their case, their time of interest will probably be spring because they're planning for the growing season and they really need to know what the health of their fields are. However, going back to civil government, if you're looking at zoning or city planning, or even thinking about where do I want to develop the city, right? Building more infrastructure, building new highways. Some of those time of interest could be longer term. Instead of a season, you're looking at year on year or even multi-year horizons. So think about that. When you're going through a career change or planning for it, what is your time of interest? Are you looking at something that will happen within the next 12 months, 2 years? And when you do make that leap into your new role, how long do you want to be there? Is it a stepping stone to another bigger career pivot? For example, if you're moving to a new industry, or is it a way for you to grow and really deepen your expertise, for example, within an industry or within a field? And feel free to put your thoughts in the Q&A as well. I think it's always fun to make it interactive as you're pondering through these lessons. So in my case, I would say while I was becoming a food writer, I kind of fell into digital marketing because a lot of writing, communication, as you know, are augmented by social media. And from there, I discovered one of my passions, which is in public speaking. So for me, my time of interest at the time was to really hone my public speaking skills and communication skills. And one of my kind of capstone projects or goal I set for myself was to speak at the TEDx event. And at the time, Cape Town held or organized various TEDx events. There's ones organized by the university, there's ones organized by the city itself. And I was able to, again, submit the talk proposal and be selected and really present it. And that was where I had the unique opportunity to meet Archbishop Desmond Tutu as well. Still one of the highlights in that time of my life. And carrying that forward, now my next time of interest was looking at 2 to 3 year horizon, where I said, I have my data analytics skills down. I have my creative marketing skills down. What do I want to learn next? And I really wanted to be able to build a product so that I'm not just talking about it or selling it or analyzing it, but I can build the end-to-end user experience. And that's where it brought me to my next pivot into a full stack software engineer role. And I went through a coding bootcamp where I really learned the full stack, where on the back end, learning Ruby, and on the front end, learning JavaScript using frameworks such as Ember.js and React.js. And that's the photo you see on the top right. I think, again, I like to have milestones or capstone project for myself. And for that one, I really wanted to present some of my learnings in the form of a conference talk. And I was able to present at GDG in Madrid because that's Google developer groups during my travels when I was in Madrid. So yeah, think about the time of interest as you pursue your next career change. All right, lesson number 3. And I think this one is actually one of the most important one, and it's a reasonable or logical extension coming from area of interest, time of interest, and now what are your success criteria? Using the earlier examples, if we are looking at this as an agriculture farmer, right? This image on the screen, it's probably not very successful because I don't see a lot of farming or agricultural land near San Francisco downtown. Whereas if the photo was of Gilroy with garlic farming, or even of Napa Valley with the wine industry there, that probably makes a lot more sense and that image will be successful. Right? But again, going back to city, if you are a San Francisco government and you're doing city zoning and infrastructure development, this image is probably perfect for your use case. You're able to see downtown, you're able to see the Embarcadero, and in fact, you can even see the Presidio, right, on the top and the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge. And even with Karl the Fog, the clouds, we're always looking up for cloud covers at Planet, even though the cloud obfuscate kind of the left side of the city, you really get to see 90% of the city. So this image for a civil government will be successful. So linking to that, what are the factors for your success criteria? Is it about the job, the scope of the role? Maybe it's about salary because you're at the time of your life where you need to provide for your family and financial stability is key. Or perhaps if you're younger and earlier in your career journey, and for you, personal growth and learning is the key factor for your success criteria. So think about that as you're planning your career change and planning for the next pivot. In my case, I would say that, through those different career changes, initially the success criteria were pretty immediate. right? Which are, what skills can I learn? And am I having fun with it? Am I having fun while I'm changing these different jobs or learning new things? And I would say on the top left, this was at a friend's wedding in Durban, South Africa. And for me at the time, the social aspect was a huge thing too. I really wanted to meet people. I wanted to experience different cultures. And those, my lifestyle choices, were integral pieces to my success criteria beyond professional growth. And slowly, as I moved back to the US, I would say that my success criteria has changed over time. And now, instead of just focusing on perhaps immediate and personal gains, I'm really looking at how I can integrate or how I can be closer to families and what that means for my lifestyle and what I want in the long term. Starting a family, for example, mentoring other women in tech. And that's how I've been involved in women in product and tech ladies. And in some ways, still trying to get connected with my roots from when I ran a startup by attending startup conferences and just keeping fingers on the pulse about what's happening in the startup space. So that was really key, kind of shift from personal growth, lifestyle, to professional, family, as well as any mentorship impact. And that ultimately was what brought me to Planet. I think, as Adrienne mentioned, a lot of us here, Planeteers, who are fully aligned with Planet's mission. And one of the success criteria for me when I went through the latest round of job search was around impact. I really wanted to join a company where I myself can be contributing to something that is impactful at a global scale. And really Planet way surpassed that and some more, because I would say beyond global, this is really at planetary and species level, right? And I think hopefully with the use case I have shared, you can see how it impacts industries at the time. And, I'm sure some of the speakers later will share even more interesting story, such as forestry or crisis management, and you get to hear a lot more. Yeah, so take this time in the question Q&A area. If you can think about what your success criteria are, start sharing that with us. So finally, savor the journey. I think bringing it back, the 3 lessons about area of interest, time of interest, and your success criteria. Another thing to remember is that while we are in the midst of career change or any pivot, the uncertainties are probably quite stressful, and you may feel like you don't really know where you're going or if you're going to be able to attain the goals that you have set out for yourself. But, as the famous saying goes, hindsight is always 20/20. And while you're in it, it may feel like you're going through a lot of divergence, snaking around from place to place, and it doesn't feel like a linear path. But looking back, or if you zoom out and take a bird's eye view, you will probably realize that you've made something beautiful and you have created this fantastic journey for yourself where all of those different skills and experience you pick up along the way were pieces of the puzzle. And ultimately, when you piece all of them together, they look really stunning. So I hope that will help to lessen some of the stress or anxiety you're feeling as you pivot through these uncertain times. And to close, obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let's chat. You can connect with me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I will be here for the networking event later on as well. So yeah, definitely reach out. And we are hiring, so always happy to chat about Planet. Thank you.
I said that tonight. We could all be stars. I said that tonight. We could all be stars. I said that tonight. We could all be stars.